Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review I am incredibly excited to be taking a look at the Transformers Earthrise Galactic Odyssey Collection Botropolis Rescue Mission box set. This is the final Transformers Earthrise release as well as the final Galactic Odyssey Collection release. Taking a look here at the packaging, you can see that it is very generic as far as box art is concerned. So without further ado, let's crack this open and see what awaits us inside. I personally do believe that the repaints that are going to be in this box set are going to be some of the best that we've seen from the Earthrise line so far, so let's really hope that they do indeed live up to my expectations. Sliding this section here up, here we have the Botropolis Rescue Mission box set, and wow, these figures look terrific, especially that Airwave repaint. This comes with some great figures, including my favourite Battle Masters. We've got the shuttle here, of course we've got this rocket, which I was not expecting to see released with this set at all. I do believe this is a carryover from the Leader Class Double Dealer. We've of course got the all new look here for Ironworks. Really excited to actually crack these particular releases open. Of course, we do have the Galactic Odyssey Collection map piece, and then as we remove this section, I do believe it should reveal a Botropolis card, much like we got with the Micromasters set. You can see, of course, Botropolis, some nice artwork there. And then as we take a look here towards the back of the cards, you can see how we've got various different stats of the planet, as well as a very brief bio. So I'm going to crack the Botropolis set out of their clamshell and take a closer look at what this set has in store for us. And so here we have the Botropolis Rescue Mission fully opened up and out of their packaging, and I have got to say right at the beginning of the review that out of all of the figures to be released as part of this Galactic Odyssey subline, this has by far got to be the best set and Hasbro have certainly saved the best for last. The repaints in this set, in my opinion, are fantastic, especially where Airwave, who is now called Over Air, is concerned, and I love the inclusion of these awesome Battle Masters which now have entirely new paint decos. There is a ton to get through with this review, so let's kick things off by taking a look at none other than Missile Master. You can see here that as far as paintwork is concerned, this figure here has actually turned out really nicely. I love the colour of gunmetal that they have used for the main body, as well as of course the thighs, and you can see some nice silver paintwork here for the shins. It also helps that as far as moulding is concerned, this is by far one of the best Battle Masters that we did get as part of the War for Cybertron. This figure does also come with an entirely new sculpted piece, that being this huge missile that does store on his back, and the sculpt work as well as the detail on this particular piece, in my opinion too, is really well done. As far as transformation is concerned, you simply want to take the legs here and snap them nice and securely into place. We can then bring this entire region here up and of course over, take the arms, and you're going to want to hinge these sections here up and of course tab them nice and securely there into place, and of course repeat the same process here on this side. So just hinge this section up and snap that in there as well really securely, and you can see how this will indeed become a huge missile truck. I love the sculpt work on this particular piece. You can see it looks very heavy infantry and definitely a suitable vehicle to carry such an awesome looking weapon. This could almost be a nuke that is about to completely disintegrate the Decepticons and of course Lord Megatron. We also do get his partner, that being Moonrock. Moonrock is of course the second half of this combining duo, and you can see how we too have got some nice paintwork going along there for the helmet as well as the torso, and the silver gunmetal definitely does help in order to complement some of the sharper details of the sculpt. This, in my opinion, is my favourite out of the two. I just love how he looks here in his robot mode, and as far as his transformation is concerned, you just simply want to snap these two sections into one another. We can of course take the heel spurs, extend those out like so. What I then recommend doing is shifting these up, and you can see how we do have slots that will peg into these tabs, so just snap them in and of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side. It is great to see that despite these figures being re-releases, they have got incredibly sturdy joints, so there is no evidence of the mold degrading here with the second and in some cases third re-releases of these figures. You can see that the sculpt work as well as the paintwork on this too has come out really well, and as mentioned before, this was actually my favourite Battle Master to be released in the Earthrise line. In order to actually combine him, you just want to fold this peg here down, of course take the second half, snap these two halves into one another, and here you have that very awesome huge looking missile truck, and I absolutely love the way this here looks. As mentioned when we took a look at this section, it certainly does look very heavy infantry and really suitable for carrying such a devastating asset. Taking a look at the second duo of Battle Masters, here we have Fuser. You can see here that the detail as well as the overall sculpt work on this figure too has come out really nicely. As mentioned before, this too was also one of my favourite Battle Masters, so it is great to see these figures here re-released in in this pack with all new colour schemes. I actually do prefer the colorization on this figure when compared to the original release. You can see how we've got this really nice silver deco for the torso, as well as some red highlights. Very G1 Megatron-esque in my opinion. I do like how they have painted these sculpted in blasters in a nice glossy black. It just helps in order to differentiate some of the parts of the sculpt. And then as we take a look here down to the lower section, they have also picked out the toes in a nice red. And as far as the sculpt work is concerned, this figure here is really well done. As far as transformation is concerned, you're going to want to turn your attention here to the tip of the nose cone. Just extend this section out. We can then bring these pieces down. Of course, snap that there over the top. You're then going to want to shift this here up, and of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side. Come to these sections, snap them in here nice and securely. Of course, rotate the waist around and bring all of that in so that everything does line up appropriately. We can then bring this section here all the way to the back, ensure that the actual pistol does stay stored in that cavity, and there we have Fusor transformed into his half of the shuttle, and you can see some nice detail. However, we will go more into this when we take a look at his second partner, who the instructions refer to as just Autobot Blast Master. I do believe that the original release was called something like Blast Off, but you can see here that much like his partner Fusor, we've got some fantastic detail as well as sculpt work. This is a really nice pair of Battle Masters in my opinion, and the articulation on all of these figures too is pretty well done. We do get ball joints at the shoulders, ball joints at the hips, as well as hinge joints for the knees. As far as his transformation is concerned, you just want to snap the legs together. What we can proceed to do then is extend that. You're then going to want to take this fin here, bring this section up, and then of course we can bring all of this all the way around until these tabs do peg into these slots. We can then take these wings here, ensure that these sections are brought down, and you can see tiny little tabs that will indeed peg into the slots here on the hips. So bring this up and over, snap that into place, and then of course just bring this section down. We can then take both halves of the shuttle and of course snap them into place, creating once again one of the best Battlemaster alt modes that I personally have ever seen. The skull work on this is so nicely done. You can see how we've got the black nose cone here with some fantastic sculpted in detail, a green paint here used for the visor, and this really does give me Skylinks vibes, as all of the figures in this set are designed in order to combine into a platform for Skylinks to launch off. However, I will demonstrate that later on in the review. You can see as we turn our attention here to the back, you are indeed supposed to flip up the head, my mistake. We do get some nice silver here for the thrusters, as well as some nice red paint apps, Autobot insignias here on the sides of the wings, and overall it's just a fantastic looking Battlemaster. Here for a comparison, we have the missile truck. You can see that they are more or less the exact same size, and both of them are very, very good figures. Now taking a look at the two deluxe figures that we get, we'll first of all start off here with Ironworks. I do apologise that the figure is coming across as a little overexposed. I have tried my best in order to get the exposure settings spot on so that you can still see the detail whilst at the same time have a bright enough background, but this for the most part is just a direct reuse of the originally released Wave 1 Earthrise Ironworks. However, that is a really good modulator, and it's nice to see him done this time round in a little more of a lighter colour scheme. You can see that as far as the head sculpt is concerned, it is really nicely done. We've got some silver there for the mouth plate, as well as some blue there for the visor. I love the details here at the top, and really was not expecting to see these at all. These are indeed printed on decals and are not stickers, so that too is also a nice touch. We have this hazard stripe here across the torso, Autobot insignias, as well as a nice gunmetal, and I do like the blue that they have cast the arm armor in, and you can also see we've got some gunmetal there, this huge looking blaster which looks awesome, some nice red detail. Overall, I just think that the colour palette on these figures is spot on, really, really well done. Not too oversaturated in certain areas, it is overall a nice distribution. And then flipping around here to the back, we've got some gunmetal grey used here for these platforms, so it's definitely a really nice figure. As far as his articulation is concerned, ball joint here at the head, which can rotate the full 360 and can tilt up and down slightly, full 360 here at the arms, which can move out to the sides, full 360 at the bicep, double joint here at the elbow. We do get a rotation here for the blaster, although we do not get any wrist rotation on this arm, although you can fully rotate the actual hook section on this side. We do get a slight rotation here at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far on Ratchet Joints, which is actually the first time I'm seeing this mold have Ratchet Joints. So I go back to my earlier point in stating that the joints are as tight, if not tighter, than the original release. They can also kick out to the sides, full 360 rotation here at the thigh, 90-degree bend there at the knee, and then finally we do get an ankle rocker joint. Now, as far as transformation is concerned, as this is a modulator, you can really break this figure here up into many different components. As I have reviewed this figure now 3 times, I won't be going into each and every one of his individual modes. I'll merely be focusing on the base platform that we will use in order to launch the shuttle from. So as far as that is concerned, you just want to remove the legs here, of course come here to this side, and remove this section, repeat the same process. We can take this section, pull that off, repeat the same process. Take the head here, snap this here nice and securely. We can then turn our attention here to these pieces. You're going to want to fold the knees all the way in until they clip into place. And of course, repeat the same process. Come here to these sections and leave them so that we have something along the lines of this. We can then take the arm here, pull off the blaster, and this here will curl and will also tab securely there into place. Once again, the joints are very stiff on this particular figure. You're going to want to hinge this peg up, as if we turn our attention here to this piece, this will indeed lock into these two ports, solidifying this base platform. We can then take this section, and you're just going to want to snap this in there as well. We can then take this here, and I recommend removing this part of the blaster and sticking this here in the top, just so that we have a slight plinth for this to rest on. Utilize this peg here and peg it into this port, so just snap that into place there. We can then take this part of the gun and realign that into place. We can then flip open this peg and then take the crane section here, rotate this around, and ensure that we are left with something that looks along the lines of this. Port that there into the top, take this ramp piece, and of course snap that in there. And here we have Ironworks fully transformed up into his modulator base mode. Now, I do believe that the head too is also supposed to be rotated around, just so that we don't have any visible face syndrome with this particular figure. And overall, I think this works really nicely, especially where those decals are concerned. Their addition certainly does make a lot more sense in this mode, and I think that all there looks fantastic. So that is Ironworks fully transformed up into his modulator form. Of course, you could transform him into any of the other alternate modes that you could with the original Ironworks. However, as mentioned, I won't go into too much detail in regards to those, as I have already showcased them off in a previous review, and we still have a lot to get through. Now, taking a look here at Over Air, arguably the best repaint in this particular set. Finally, Airwave gets the repaint that he deserves. This, in my opinion, is the best colorization we have seen for this character so far. Of course, we did get Hothouse, which although I picked up, I didn't review on the channel, just as I absolutely detest his overall color scheme, and I did review Airwave and thought that overall he was a good figure, but for a Decepticon, his color scheme wasn't all that great. Here with the Autobot repaint, I believe this here to be the best so far. You can see that as far as the head sculpt is concerned, we have got some very nicely painted, almost all spark blue eyes. I do like the gold highlights that we've got going on for the mouth plate, as well as here for the torso. You can truly appreciate the sculpted and mechanical components that we have on either sides of his chest. As we turn our attention here down to the lower section of the legs, of course, we've got the same blue that we saw on Ironworks, as well as, of course, the hazard stripes. And overall, it's just a really well done looking paint scheme. Autobot insignias, yellow arrow decals here on the sides. I love the gold metallic paint that we've got going on here for the blaster. Articulation is as follows: swivel joint here at the head, full 360 rotation here at the arm, although as he's a modulator, they can easily come off. You can hinge this out of the way in order to allow for a greater range of motion hinging out. Full 360 rotation here at the bicep, as well as a 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Full 360 rotation here at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far, as well as can kick back to that far. He can, of course, do the splits. Full 360 here at the thigh, as well as a 90-degree bend here at the knee. And then finally, of course, we have the signature War for Cybertron Trilogy ankle rocker pivot. So overall, as far as robot mode is concerned, Over Air here is probably one of my favourite characters to come out of this set so far. Now, turning to Over Air's transformation, as mentioned when we took a look at Ironworks, I shan't be showing all of the individual alt modes for this character, as I have previously showed them off, and we still do have quite a bit to get through, so I shall be merely showing you the transformation from robot mode into his runway, of which we will use in order to combine Skylinks and the rest of the guys together. So to begin with, you're going to want to remove the arms here off to the sides, straighten out this one here so that this section can come over the top and of course snap securely into place. We can then remove the lower section here of the legs, just where the knees are concerned. We can then extend all of this here out, and of course repeat the exact same process here on the opposite side. Very similarly to Ironworks, you are going to want to bring these legs here together so that we are left with something that looks along the lines of this. We're then going to disengage the upper torso from this waist piece. We can take the head here, snap that into place, and just set that there off to the side. We can take this arm here, hinge this section off, and of course repeat the same process here. You're going to want to rotate this around so that both pegs are indeed facing upwards. You'll then want to take this section here, rotate the legs around and snap them in there nice and securely, and of course repeat the same process. We can then take this entire assembly, and what will happen here is these two pegs will indeed slot into these two holes. So just align these up, snap them in there. We can then turn our attention to these sections, of course take the peg and port that into place, and then come to this side and repeat the exact same process here for the opposite leg. And then what we'll do is just straighten all of this out, come to this section, and it is just a matter of simply taking this port here and pegging it on the underside, and of course repeat the same process here with this section. So just snap that into place. Also, we can take this here, and for this you're supposed to just tap that into place, and then this section should just tab there into the sides in order to create this almost tower look. And as mentioned when we had him in robot mode, I really do believe that this is the best paint scheme that Airwave/Over-Air has seen so far. It looks so well done and a lot more realistic when compared to some of those previous figures. You can see the paintwork here on these hazard stripes looks fantastic. We've got all of this yellow paintwork here for the runway, as well as some red highlights, and of course as we take a look here towards the actual main command tower, we've also got some nice blue there for what I imagine is the windows, and of course this huge tower there at the top. Definitely looks like something you would see if you were about to blast off a shuttle into space. Really nicely done. And as far as the stability of the overall structure is concerned, it does feel quite robust. Now, as far as actually combining all of these elements together, it's actually really simplistic and, as mentioned, quite fun to do so. You're going to, of course, want to take Over-Air and Ironworks, and this here is supposed to snap into place nice and securely. This, in my opinion, is the best use of the modulators that I personally have seen so far, and you can see the colour schemes really do complement each other rather nicely. We can also now bring in an additional element, which I haven't shown in the review so far, that being this huge missile, or I guess you could call it a rocket. This is just a direct carryover from Double Dealer's main weapon that we got released earlier in the year. However, of course, has been given an entirely new colour scheme in order to go along with the more heroic theme. Of course, this has been completely cast in a white plastic. You can see the sculpt work there looks really awesome. The Autobot insignia at the top, as well as some fantastic gunmetal here at the bottom. You are supposed to take the shuttle here, pull out the 5mm peg, and of course snap this here into place. Now, it's really up to your own personal preference on whether or not you tab it here at the top or if you sit it slightly lower. I would recommend tabbing it here into the top, as if you do tab it into the lower ports, it will be very difficult for you to actually attach this here onto the modulators. So just snap this here into place. We can then turn our attention to Over-Air. You're just going to want to flip out this peg here. The joints are very stiff on this particular figure. We can then take the slot that we have on the bottom of this rocket and of course tab that there into place. And here we have the Botropolis Rescue Mission Pack fully combined into this really awesome looking launch pad. Now, I have turned off a few of the lights in the review station just so that you can see some of the white parts such as the missile in their full entirety. Of course, we can bring in the missile truck and we can have this here resting along the platform. We can also split this here into its individual components so you could have different vehicles driving along this, and I really do absolutely love the way this looks. As mentioned, I think this is by far one of the more enjoyable, playable sets that we have gotten from Hasbro in quite a long time, and it is by far the most fun I've had with any of these Galactic Odyssey figures. This is really awesome, and I'm pretty certain for younger collectors they will have an absolute field day with what Hasbro have come up here with what is essentially just repacks and slight repaints of pre-existing figures. For those who are wondering for different display options, you could take the shuttle, disengage that, and use this peg that we have on the top of Ironworks and peg it into one of the thrusters of the space shuttle. It's very difficult to do so due to the peg not really having a resting point, but it is certainly achievable. So if you wanted the rocket to launch from this platform, you can certainly do so. For those of you who may be curious, the rocket/missile here does indeed separate in the exact same way as Double Dealer's weapon, and the sculpt work is exactly the same. So if you really wanted to, I imagine you could give this to one of the Autobots as a main weapon. It's really up to your own personal preference. This set here has got a ton of play factor, and the options with this set truly are endless. And here for yet another potential configuration, here we have the Botropolis Rescue Mission set combined with the Commander Skylinks, and due to the colour variation on all of these figures being pretty much the exact same, you can see that it does create for a very cohesive looking playset. I personally do believe that out of all of the configurations I've come up with so far, this here is by far the best, and it is just a shame that it has taken to what is pretty much the final Transformers Earthrise release to really see the potential that these modulators can indeed have. I think this here looks fantastic, and of course, if you have any of the other repaints such as Ironworks and of course the original release of Airwave, you can combine all of them onto this particular set and create for a very awesome almost cityscape. So definitely a fantastic configuration, and I love the way this here looks. And so, some final thoughts. Overall, if you hadn't guessed already by this review, I personally do believe this here to be the best Galactic Odyssey collection pack that we have gotten so far. Of course, this here at the moment does mark the final release not only for the Transformers Earthrise line, but for the Galactic Odyssey collection, and I really do believe that Hasbro are going out with a bang. This is a fantastic set. For those of you who do not already own any of the figures in this set, I believe this here to be a great start, and for those of you who are perhaps not into repaints, are really the definitive representations of each mold. I love the Battle Masters that they do come with. I think that they too were some of the best that we got from Earthrise. The shuttle is fantastic. I love how it does come with double dealer's rocket so that you can attach it onto the shuttle to create for a little bit more of a realistic diorama. The paint deco to over air is by far the highlight for me. I love how he looks in all of his modes, even some of the modes that I didn't go into too much detail in this review. The compatibility with other characters like Skylynx creates for endless playability options, and out of all of the sets, I believe you are getting the most bang for your buck with this particular release. I really hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. Also, be sure to let me know on what you think of the set and whether or not you will be adding it to your collection. I thank you all for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.